episode 39, Love's Labor Lost. Riddhi entered the bookshop. It was just as Chirayu had told her. Quiet, dignified, with an old world charm, and full of the typical smell of books. Strangely, though right opposite her college, Riddhi hadn't noticed its existence. Bookshop mein kaun jata hai be? She had laughingly told her bestie, Tanvi.
अब बुक शॉप पे ही रोमांस आगे बढ़ेगा बेटा, वहां जाना सीख ले। किसी से दोस्ती बढ़ाने के लिए किताबों से दोस्ती कर ले।
Tanvi had laughed vociferously when Riddhi told her that she was going to the bookshop. Chirayu was a voracious reader and could quote Shakespeare, Shelley, Milton, and even Indian greats like Ghalib, Mir, Gulzar, and Javed Akhtar. Riddhi would listen to him with unwavering attention, almost mesmerized. But she would also get very jealous and irritated because every other girl of their class would be doing exactly the same. To say that Riddhi did not read would be an understatement. She felt giddy at the very sight of a book. She didn't even know on which floor was the college library located. And now, the same Riddhi had fallen in love with a book lover. Chirayu would talk for hours about Dickens and Tagore and Austen and Harper Lee and Dostoevsky, and oh God, so many of them. Chirayu's favorite book, however, was Gone with the Wind by one Margaret something. God knows. The surname was too difficult for Riddhi to remember. But yesterday, Chirayu was angry and upset. Someone had borrowed this Windwala book and then vanished with it. Good Lord, book भी कोई चोरी करने की चीज है क्या? Thought Riddhi. So it was to buy a new copy of this Windwala book for Chirayu that Riddhi had entered the bookshop. Riddhi felt nervous because she didn't know what to answer if someone asked her कि क्या चाहिए. In the shop was one old Uncle Ji sitting at the counter and writing. A middle-aged man was sitting on a low stool and reading a book, and two women were browsing a shelf. There was absolute silence in the shop. Riddhi took a step behind a shelf and was dazed at the sheer number of books. हे भगवान, इतनी सारी किताबें कौन लिखता होगा यार? The man sitting on the low stool looked up at Riddhi. She immediately turned and grabbed a book from the nearest shelf. It was The History of Sexuality by some Michael Foucault. Fault? हैं? क्या अजीब सा नाम है यार?
Don't buy this one.
Huh? It was that man on the stool.
Its second volume has gone out of print, and the third volume was eaten up by a rat here.
Oh, ऐसा क्या? Thanks for telling me. And Riddhi placed the book back on the shelf. Someone can write a history of sexuality in 4 volumes. क्या सही वेला इंसान होगा यार?
But they do have the second sex.
Huh? Riddhi glanced down at herself. Was she dressed skimpily or what? Why was this man suggesting all books on sex to her? What a geek. Readers become like this only. But her Chirayu was different, huh?
The very thought of Chirayu brought such a smile on Riddhi's face.
Oh, but where to look for that wind wala book, yaar? Riddhi decided to move a little forward. The man sitting at that low stool was still staring at her. She hurried past him and turned left to avoid his gaze. She came to a shelf marked as Devotional Reading. There were hundreds of books with cover pages of gurus and, all those Baba type people in various postures. Some preaching to a crowd, some lost in meditation, some covered from head to foot in clothes, and some of them were not even fully dressed. Chhi chhi, thought Riddhi. Ek devotional wale aise hote hain? She began to feel suffocated and moved her head. Now this section was really colourful. It was the Culinary and Cuisine section. Wonderful covers with photographs of the most delicious looking food. Chefs smiling beneath their white hats, enticing and inviting. In the centre were books by Tarla Dalal and Sanjeev Kapoor. Harsh. Finally, Riddhi felt a little at home. She walked past Chinese, Korean, Chettinad, Maharashtrian, Italian, Mexican, African, Brazilian, and American food books. Riddhi next came to the marketing and management section. A Pranad Kakkar here and a Philip Kotler there. There was a book called Principles of Marketing, which had the 17th edition on display. Good Lord. People across the globe were really mad. Riddhi was beginning to feel a little tired now. How and when will she find her book? She now came to a section called Philosophy. It had subsections also. And German philosophy. And the first name there was... what? God, what a horrible name. Second name is even worse. Some headgear. And what is this? Kaate? Meaning thorns? Heavens. And look at these sections, man. French, Indian philosophy, philosophy of the Western world, Oriental, Buddhist, Zen. Oh God, it seemed the entire world was just philosophizing. Riddhi quickly moved forward and saw a smiling Shiv Khera telling her, "You can win." Goodness me. I can't stand here a minute more. I must find that wind book and get out. But kahan search karu yaar? Should I go and ask that man sitting on the stool? But Riddhi immediately abandoned that idea. Riddhi had reached the counter where Uncle Ji stared at her questioningly. Riddhi gulped. She hadn't picked up any book so far. Just then, the door of the shop opened and an Auntie Ji walked in. Dressed like the Red Riding Hood, she was wearing a red sari, red bangles, red sandals and a red handbag. Her glares perched on her head, she walked straight to the counter with a broad smile. Uncle Ji's eyes glowed brightly and he too smiled broadly.
जानी साहब, अच्छी किताबें रखी है ना? I do hope you're not poisoning the minds of our youth. They should be reading good shit books only ना?
अरे एकदम मैडम, we sell only the best ones here.
Youth को thinking करना चाहिए, है ना? And the books are the best friends. क्या कहते हैं?
Riddhi wondered if the Auntie Ji had ever read any book at all. Auntie Ji turned towards the nearest shelf and pulled out a book. It was Jerome K. Jerome's celebrated book, Three Men in a Boat.
आय हाय जानी साहब, ये देखो, 3 men all alone in a boat. अब बच्चे ऐसी किताबें पढ़ेंगे तो what will they think? They will learn to love boys only ना. Oh ho, you should not keep such books, जानी साहब. Don't give such ideas to our youth, bhai.
Uncle Ji stood up with quite a shock on his face.
Arey madam, this is a classic. Generations of readers have read this book.
Oh ho, तो जानी साहब, you have spoiled so many generations. See, I'm telling you, please don't keep such book for youth.
Uncle Ji gave an exasperated look at Auntie Ji and kept quiet.
And now, please give my book jaldi se, huh?
Uncle Ji cheered up again. He handed a book immediately to Auntie Ji. Riddhi was stunned to see that the book was gone with the wind. Arey yaar! Riddhi immediately gathered courage and approached Uncle Ji. Uncle Ji, I also want this book only.
Sorry beta, this was the last copy. It's a classic. So it gets sold immediately, na? Try after 2 weeks, huh?
Riddhi was crestfallen. This one visit to a bookshop had exhausted her so much. Now she couldn't even think of coming here again. All along she was visualizing the face of Chirayu that would break into a broad, pleased smile on seeing his favorite book. Riddhi was sure he would hug her lovingly. The very thought of the hug sent her into raptures. And now, the book got sold. Riddhi couldn't afford to delay gifting the book, because then maybe the other girls will order online for him. No, she cannot let them do that. Chirayu was hers. Auntie Ji was selecting a wrapping paper. Riddhi brought a sad look on her face. Hello, Auntie.
हाँ जी बेटा जी.
वो आंटी, I am so sorry to bother you, but I wanted to buy this book for my very dear friend, and this was the last copy in the shop. It's his birthday tomorrow, and I had promised to give him this book only. So if you please don't mind, can I take this book? Please, auntie.
डियर शेयर फ्रेंड के लिए तो यू आंट आस्किंग दिस बुक. सच सच बोलो, किसी बॉयफ्रेंड के लिए है ना?
Riddhi just gazed downwards and smiled. The strand of sunlight glinting from the shop's window fell straight on her dimples. Auntie Ji was indeed trapped.
Ay hi, Sharmana and all. I must say, you are not like all the girls we find these days. जिन्होंने बुक शॉप तो क्या, बुक की शक्ल भी नहीं देखी होगी कभी. Girls तो बस full time lost in makeup and shake-up and talks of our filmy heroes. You know, my son dislikes such girls so much. He always complains कि मम्मी, why don't girls read? अब क्या ही बोलूं बेटा तुझे. You know my son तो reads all day and sometimes all night. यहाँ रोड क्रॉस करके जो कॉलेज है ना बेटा, वहीं पढ़ता है मेरा बेटा. You must meet my son Chirayu. बड़ा ही खुश होगा वो.
Uncle Ji and Auntie Ji stood quite confused at the shop door, not able to understand why the pretty young girl ran away so hurriedly.